There was a time when the act of reading the wrong book could risk not just your soul but your life. For nearly 4 centuries, the Catholic Church maintained a formal list of forbidden works called the Index Librorum Prohibitorum, the Index of Forbidden Books. Created in 1559 and abolished only in 1966, the index reflected the Church's attempt to safeguard doctrine and protect the faithful from heresy, error, and philosophical rebellion. Some of the greatest minds in Western civilizations, scientists, philosophers, saints, and novelists, saw their works condemned, yet many of these banned books shaped history, ignited revolutions, and inspired spiritual reform. Let's explore 10 of the most influential and most dangerous books ever banned by the Catholic Church. 10. On the Revolutions of the Celestial Spheres, Nicolaus Copernicus, 1543. Reason for ban: heliocentrism. Copernicus, a Polish canon and mathematician, published this groundbreaking treatise in the very year of his death. It proposed something radical: that the Earth revolves around the sun, not the other way around. The idea wasn't just scientific, it was theological treason. At the time, the Church's cosmology followed a geocentric model, rooted in Aristotle and Ptolemy, and supported by certain biblical interpretations. If the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, what else in Scripture could be questioned? Although revolutions wasn't banned immediately, resistance grew after Galileo's vocal support. In 1616, the Church placed the book on the index, declaring that heliocentrism was formally heretical. The ban remained until 1835, when scientific consensus finally forced a re-evaluation. Legacy: Copernicus laid the first stone in the scientific revolution. His book didn't just challenge astronomy, it shifted humanity's place in the cosmos. 9. Dialogue concerning the 2 chief world systems Galileo Galilei, 1632. Reason for ban: heresy and mocking church dogma. Galileo's dialogue was a literary ticking bomb disguised as a scientific conversation, framed as a debate between 3 characters: Salviati, the Copernican; Sagredo, the neutral inquirer; and Simplicio, the geocentrist. Galileo clearly ridiculed the geocentric view, associating it with intellectual buffoonery. The Church had tolerated Galileo for a time, but dialogue pushed too far. In 1633, he was summoned before the Inquisition, forced to recant, and sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life. His book was banned, and his name was blackened until 1992, when Pope John Paul II formally acknowledged the Church's error. Legacy: Galileo's trial became the defining image of the Church versus science. His banned book turned him into a martyr for reason and truth. 8. The Prince Niccolò Machiavelli, 1532. Reason for ban: political immorality and perceived atheism. Few names evoke such moral unease as Machiavelli. The Prince was a cold, ruthless examination of power, arguing that rulers must sometimes do evil to achieve good ends. It treated politics as a game of control, not virtue. To the Catholic Church, this was political blasphemy. Machiavelli's secularism, pragmatism, and indifference to divine law earned him a spot on the index. For centuries, the Prince was a byword for cunning and deceit, its very name an insult. Legacy: the book reshaped political thought in Europe and beyond. Today it is studied not as a manual for tyranny, but as a brutally honest analysis of how power works in the real world. 7. The Essai Michel de Montaigne, 1580. 1595. Reason for ban: skepticism and relativism. Montaigne's essays were deeply introspective, questioning everything from war to religion to death. He championed humility and knowledge and tolerance of other cultures' ideas that threatened the Church's claim to ultimate truth. His skepticism wasn't hostile, but it was subversive. He wondered aloud whether certainty was even possible. In an age of confessional warfare, where Protestants and Catholics burned one another over doctrine, Montaigne's doubts made him dangerous. Legacy: the essay became foundational to modern humanism and the Enlightenment. His voice calm, uncertain, curious still, feels radically modern. 6. The Spirit of the Laws, Montesquieu, 1748. Reason for ban: secularism and critique of theocracy. Montesquieu's magnum opus laid the groundwork for modern constitutional democracy. He argued for the separation of powers, religious tolerance, and civil liberties, all of which threatened monarchies aligned with church power. His criticism of Catholic institutions, particularly the Inquisition and the fusion of throne and altar, didn't go unnoticed. The Vatican condemned his work as undermining divine authority and supporting revolution. Legacy: the U.S. Constitution owes much to Montesquieu. His banned ideas now form the core of modern democracy. 5. Candid, Voltaire, 1759. Reason for ban: mockery of religion, satire of the Church. Voltaire's razor-sharp satire follows the naive Candide through a world of unimaginable suffering. Every horror is dismissed with the mantra, "All is for the best, in the best of all possible worlds." This was a direct attack on the optimism of Christian philosophers and on the Church's defense of divine providence. Voltaire skewered religious hypocrisy, Jesuit missionaries, and inquisitorial cruelty. Legacy: Candide remains one of literature's great weapons against dogmatism. The Church banned it, but its humor made it immortal. 4. Ail or On Education, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, 1762. Reason for ban: heretical theology and radical pedagogy. Rousseau's fictional treatise followed a boy named Émile as he is raised according to nature, not dogma. The book rejected original sin, criticized religious instruction, and advocated a form of natural religion accessible without church or scripture. To the Catholic hierarchy, Émile wasn't just rebellious, it was insidious. It undermined church control over education and morality. France burned the book. Rome banned it outright. Legacy: Rousseau's work revolutionized education theory and prefigured modern child-centered learning. His ideas helped inspire the French Revolution. 3. Critique of Pure Reason, Immanuel Kant, 1781. Reason for ban: philosophical limits on theology. Kant's complex masterpiece redefined reason, knowledge, and metaphysics. He argued that human understanding is shaped by experience and no divine revelation alone. His epistemology left little room for traditional proofs of God. Though not overtly anti-religious, Kant's philosophy made theology optional, and that terrified church authorities. He was banned, along with much of Enlightenment Germany's intellectual elite. Legacy: modern philosophy begins with Kant. His critiques shook the foundations of not just religion but reality as it was then understood. 2. Les Miserables, Victor Hugo, 1862. Reason for ban: liberalism, anti-clericalism, and social revolution. Though Hugo was a Catholic in sentiment, his sprawling novel took the side of the poor, the oppressed, and the fallen, often in opposition to religious authority. His sympathetic portrait of a reformed criminal priest, juxtaposed with corrupt clergy and a cold society, unsettled traditional morality. The Church feared the novel's revolutionary message and its critique of institutional religion. It was especially sensitive in the wake of political upheaval in France. Legacy: today, Les Miserables is celebrated as a deeply Christian work. Its message of mercy and redemption endures far beyond its censorship. 1. Utopia, Sir Thomas More, 1516. Reason for ban: political satire and ambiguous theology. It is the height of irony that the Catholic Church once banned a book written by one of its saints. More's Utopia describes a fictional island where property is communal, religious tolerance is practiced, and clerics are few. Though More was a devout Catholic who would die a martyr under Henry VIII, his book questioned many European and church norms. Was it satire? A blueprint? A warning? In the 17th century, when political and religious tension ran high, the book was seen as subversive. It was banned temporarily, only to be welcomed back into the Catholic canon centuries later. Legacy: Utopia gave a name to the entire genre of ideal societies and showed that even saints can write dangerous things. Why the Church banned books? The Catholic Church's campaign of literary censorship wasn't about hatred of knowledge. It was about fear. Fear of heresy, of rebellion, of the loss of control over minds and hearts. Yet many of these banned books are now respected even by the Church itself. The Index was abolished in 1966, signaling a shift toward intellectual openness in the post-Vatican II era. Pope John Paul II famously said, "Truth cannot contradict truth," encouraging dialogue between faith and reason. These books were once forbidden. Now, they are studied, debated, and in many cases celebrated, because the truth, once written, has a way of surviving the fire.